Hi everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make homemade vanilla extract. It's a super easy process and you only need 2 ingredients, and with just a little bit of time you're going to end up with this delicious homemade vanilla extract. When you're making vanilla extract, you only have 2 ingredients that you need, vanilla beans and alcohol, but there are a few different options as to the kind of alcohol you can use, so I'm going to be going over a few of those today. Then we're going to be doing a taste test of our vanilla extract made with a couple of different kinds of alcohol, so we can go over the different flavor profiles that you'll end up with. And then I'm also going to be going over some ideas for how to use your vanilla beans after you've made extract with them, because they still have so much more life to them and you don't want to waste them, because vanilla beans are really expensive and it's also something that's so limited in quantity on this earth. It only grows in a very specific part of the world that's near the equator, so you can't really get it everywhere. So we want to make sure that we get as much use out of these vanilla beans as possible. As far as where you can get your vanilla beans, a lot of times you can find them in the grocery store, but they're really expensive and you usually only get like 1 or 2 in the package. So I prefer to get mine either from Costco. I have some here that I bought from Costco recently. There were 5 pods in here and I believe it was like $20 or $25. So it's a pretty good deal and they're very large as well. Another place that I've gotten vanilla beans recently is Azure Standard, and I'll link them down below. I think they may be out of stock right now, but I'll link them anyway so that you can check in and try to grab them when they're in stock, because I'm really happy with the vanilla beans I got from them. I had a lot in my package. I think I had like 7 pods for about $25, and they were all really plump and had a lot of the seeds inside, which are what give you the most flavor. So I'm really happy with their vanilla beans and I'm gonna keep getting them from there in the future. As far as alcohol goes, you don't have to use like the highest quality stuff. Just use something that you would typically drink with and you'll be fine with that. Here's a look at the ingredients that you'll need. You'll of course need some vanilla beans. And then you'll need some kind of alcohol. So here are some options that you can use. Vodka is probably the most commonly used one for vanilla extract, and you'll get a really clean flavor from vodka. You can also use bourbon, which will give you a deeper and more rich flavor. And then white rum will give you the sweetest flavor and will bring out a lot of those vanilla notes very well. Let's start at the very beginning and the basics of how to make vanilla extract. I'm starting with my vanilla bean pods, and for this batch I'm using my beans that I got from Azure Standard, and you can see that they're really long and fresh looking. My packet came with 7 pods. When you're buying your beans, if you have a chance to take a look at them, like if they're in a clear package, try and make sure that they look really fresh. If they look like dried out and brittle, that means that they're older, and if they feel more pliable, then that means that they are fresher. Since my beans are so long, I'm cutting them in half just so that they'll fit in my jar, but if you're using a large jar or if your beans are shorter, you don't have to do that part. The part that you do have to do is to slit them lengthwise like I'm doing here, and this is going to expose the maximum amount of the beans where a lot of the flavor is, and you can see some of those beans are already coming out just because these pods are so nice and plump and fresh. And once you open it up, you can see all of those little black specks, which are the vanilla beans that you want to save for your best recipes. Whenever you are using a whole vanilla bean, this is the part you scrape out. So that's what I'm doing here. You can see I'm using the back of the paring knife to just scrape out all of those beans, and there were plenty in this half of a pod. And I'm going to scrape these into my jar where I'm going to be making my vanilla extract. And if you'd like to, you can go ahead and repeat this process for all the beans that you're going to be using and scrape out all of those vanilla beans on the inside. I actually usually don't do this, and I'll explain why later on. So I just make sure I do that slit lengthwise to expose the beans, and then I try and like maneuver it and open it up, and then I'll place it into my jar just as is. Again, here's just a close look at the inside of these beans because they were just so beautiful. I had to show you guys a close-up of how gorgeous. You can see they're kind of shimmery, and you can see all of those little gorgeous specks in there. And I'm just really happy with these vanilla beans, and they turned out to be a great purchase. So as far as how many vanilla beans to use for your amount, you can use anywhere from 4 to 6 vanilla beans for every 8 ounces. Mine are on the larger side, and I only have 7 beans, so I'm actually going to be doing 3.5 beans for each of my jars, which are 8 ounces each. Feel free to use more if you feel like your beans are a little bit on the old or dry side, or if they're a little bit smaller. If you use more, your vanilla extract will probably reach a really good strength sooner as well, so it's totally up to you with how strong you want your extract to be and how long you want it to take. And again, if you want it to be a super fast process, you can always scrape out all of those insides, and that will help to infuse into your alcohol more quickly as well. All my beans are prepped now and in their jars. Again, I'm using 3.5 beans per each of my 8-ounce jars. And I'm going to be doing 2 different alcohols so that I can compare, because I've actually never made extract with rum or whiskey before, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. I've made it with vodka in the past, and if you don't really know where to start, then that's probably a really good, safe jumping off point for you for your first time. But if you do want to experiment, then these are some good alcohols to give it a try. So you just have to pour your alcohol on top of your beans, make sure everything is submerged. If anything is sticking out of the alcohol, then it might get a little bit slimy or even moldy. And it's as simple as that. All you have to do is let this sit for anywhere from 3 to 6 months. The longer it goes, the better it's going to be. Make sure you stick a little note on there somewhere so that you know what the date is that you started. And you can also write a little note to yourself to know when it's going to be ready if you'd like. And you can just store this in a dark, cool cupboard. If you remember, every couple of weeks you can give it a shake, but I usually just do that once or twice towards the beginning of the process, and then I'll just forget about it until a few months have passed. So here's what they look like on day 1. Obviously the white rum one is clear right now, and you can tell that the bourbon starts off as a darker color, but in the end both of these are going to end up being really dark. And just give it a little shake, especially if you have any beans that you have scraped out that are settling on the bottom, and then you can just set those aside, and we're going to come back to these and see how this changes. But before we get to our final product, I want to show you what I normally do while my extract is being made. The reason I don't scrape my beans out is because even when the extract is not fully done, after about a month or 2, if I have a recipe where I need to use vanilla beans, I'll usually just take out my pod, give it a squeeze, and all those beans are going to come out from the inside. And this way I can use my vanilla even when my extract is not done. I can just stick the empty pod back in there and it'll continue to infuse. But this is a good way to be able to save those precious beans for the recipes where they can really shine. Things like vanilla ice cream or custard, cheesecake, something that's light where you can actually appreciate the speckled beans throughout. So yeah, that's just something that I like to do, but again, it's totally up to you if you want to do that. Here is our finished product after 4 months. Again, you can let it go longer if you want to, but it is definitely usable at this point. And this one here that I'm showing you is the white rum, and then the second one that I'm going to hold up is the bourbon extract. That's a little darker just because it started off as a darker liquid, but they're both really beautiful. You can see that they've taken on a lot of that color from the vanilla beans, and they're going to have a lot of the wonderful flavor as well. We're going to give these a taste test, but first I'll show you some ideas of what you can do with your vanilla pods after they've been done making extract. After 6 months or however long you want to leave your pods to steep, you can take them out of the extract, find some other uses for them. One thing I like to do is make vanilla sugar. So I'll take the pods out of the extract, let them dry out completely, and then I'll stick them in a jar and cover it with sugar, shake it up, and then again you're gonna just let this sit for a while to go through another infusing process. Even though there are no more beans inside of these pods, they still have a lot of flavor and aroma, and if you just let this sit in this sugar for a few months, then it's going to turn into vanilla sugar. So you can use this anytime you're making desserts or sprinkle it on top of something, which is often what I use this for. Or you can mix it into your coffee to make a nice like vanilla flavored kind of coffee or latte. It has a lot of uses, and this is a really easy way to get a second life out of those beans. And really, you can just take this idea and think of so many other things that you can infuse vanilla in. You can stick it into a jar of maple syrup or honey. You can also stick it into another jar of alcohol. It's not going to be like the same concentration of vanilla extract, but you can kind of just have like the essence of vanilla, which would be really cool for some specialty cocktails. And to take it one step further, after those beans have been sitting in that vanilla sugar for a while, I like to take them out and give them one last final use. And Aaron will just take one of them and break it up into small pieces and grind it along with his coffee beans. And this is going to make for a really delicious vanilla scented coffee. And after this, we can feel so good about having gotten the very last bit out of these vanilla pods. And it's going to make for a really delicious cup of coffee. And one last final idea for a use, I didn't do this, but I have heard that you can grind up those dried pods whole and mix it in with a little bit of like corn syrup, and then you can have a vanilla bean paste that way, which you can use in a lot of recipes, a similar way that you would use vanilla extract. So there are just a few ideas for how to get the most use out of your vanilla pods. Okay, so now we're gonna do our taste test. I have Aaron here with me, and I'm sure he's very excited to do this taste test because I made some whipped cream, and I thought that would be the best way to do this because it's a pretty neutral flavor. So hopefully we'll be able to taste the differences between the extracts. And I tried to do as closely as possible the same amount of cream, extract, sugar, all that kind of stuff. So I have our white rum one here and our bourbon extract here. Which one do you think you're gonna like more? Or do you think there will be a difference?
I think there will be a difference, and I think I'm gonna like bourbon because bourbon.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so let's try the bourbon one first.
You go first. Oh yeah, I can taste the bourbon.
You taste the bourbon?
I can taste the vanilla too though, yeah. It's really good.
Okay, so this is a white rum.
This one's less fluffy.
I think this one's a cleaner flavor, the rum, but it's like a little sweeter too.
It's sweeter for sure.
Yeah.
Was this the spiced rum or just white rum?
This is just plain white rum.
Yeah. Oh, it says white rum.
And I did read that white rum brings out the sweetness of vanilla more.
Mm.
And I tried to use the same amount of sugar, so that shouldn't really be an issue.
Yeah.
I do think this one's sweeter.
It is, yeah. It is more like, would you say neutral? Yeah.
I do kind of taste the alcohol too, but that's because I did put a lot of like vanilla extract in there so that we could try and taste it.
Yeah.
And like it is mainly alcohol, so it might taste a little more alcohol-y than you would normally have.
So if I eat enough of this, then...
I would say that the bourbon one has like a deeper flavor, and then the white rum has like a really clean, sweet flavor. But yeah, I think they're both good.
Would agree.
Yeah. I don't know if there's enough of a difference for it to like be crazy, right?
It's not wildly different, but
yeah.
There is a difference, but not like...
Yeah, very subtle differences.
It wouldn't like make or break the recipe if you used the wrong, or like...
Yeah.
Not the wrong one, but
yeah.
You know, the other one.
So really, I think like any kind of alcohol you choose to use is gonna turn out well. I wouldn't like stress too much about it, like if you only have one kind. But yeah, they're all good.
See it.
Aaron likes the bourbon one. I didn't do a vodka taste test because I didn't make one in this batch, and if I tried it, it would be with our older batch that has been steeping for longer, so I didn't think like the strength of that would be equal, and it's like the most neutral in flavor, so it's pretty similar to what you get in the store, I think. But yeah, that's all for this video. I hope this was helpful to you guys. Let me know in the comments below if you've ever made vanilla extract before, and we'll see you in the next video.
Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, leave us a comment. Send money.